According to cancer.gov, 40% of Americans at some point in their lifetime will get cancer. So it's very likely that cancer will affect you or someone very close to you. So I've researched the Global Sports Foundation very thoroughly, and they help with cancer and other major diseases. And their second mission is to help kids who can't afford to participate in sports growing up. The main points I'm going to be going over are: first, I want to describe more thoroughly the problems of cancer and poverty that are affecting this country. I want to describe to you how the Global Sports Foundation helps to relieve that struggle in this country. And lastly, I'm going to help you visualize a world where if you do not donate, how bad it will look, because this charity won't be able to help out. First of all, people can't afford to pay medical bills, and they can't afford to even put their kids into sports programs that they want to be in. According to the CDC, on the cancer side, the Center for Disease Control estimates that 2 million people approximately will be diagnosed with cancer just in 2020 alone. And of those 2 million, 600,000 are going to die. But for those that don't die, say you're lucky enough to make it, the families of those people are put through such a burden, and the patient themselves, once they survive, of having to pay on average $150,000 for their treatment. And that can be more depending how bad it is, how long you need treatment, what kind of cancer you have. And there's no cure in sight, even though humans have known about cancer all the way back to the days of ancient Egyptians. So with no cure in sight, we need to focus on helping them relieve the medical bill aspect of it, because the cancer itself doesn't seem to have a very realistic cure anytime soon. Now, when it comes to the sports side of this, costs for sports are rising, like the equipment and just even playing in teams. Even in high school, there's pay-to-play fees in high school. Travel teams are an immense expense that a lot of families can't afford. And according to the Washington Post, they found that 70% of kids played sports from families that made $100,000 plus, but that number's cut in half to 35,000 kids in families that make $25,000 or less. Because of the rising costs, families that make less they can't afford to put their kids through that, so they're getting left out. And sports can benefit them in many ways. Sports can give them a way to pay for college that their family typically couldn't. But when only the wealthier kids can play now, they could pay for college anyways. So they're taking up the scholarship spots that the less well-off kids make. And that is shown that in this study, because in 1993, 12.6% of NCAA scholarships consisted of kids who made $100,000 plus. They came from those families. But by 2008, which was 12 years ago, so the number actually is probably more now, that doubled to 25% of NCAA scholarships were made up of kids who are from families who make $100,000 or more. Because those are the ones that can afford to buy the new fancy $300 bat. They can pay $1,000 a year to play on a travel baseball team. You know, it's discriminating against the families who make less than that, who struggle to even make it week to week sometimes. They can't, let alone pay an extra just $1,000 that they have laying around. They don't have that. And they're the ones who need to pay for their kid to go to college. They're the ones who need that scholarship for their kid. And then besides that, from taking the college aspect out of it, sports gives kids an opportunity to make new friends. I played sports. I had so many opportunities. I traveled so many places I couldn't travel because I come from a poor family too, if it weren't for sports. And sports also gives kids something to do that's productive and keeps them out of trouble. But if people can't pay for that, they're gonna have to worry about the kids getting into other trouble. They're gonna have to worry about how to pay for their kid to get through college, which they can't afford. And it's just not good. And I just want you to imagine this for a second. Imagine if it was your loved one who had cancer. The last thing you want to think of is, how are we going to pay for this? You're going to be more worried about just if they're going to get through the day. You don't know if they're going to live to tomorrow. But that's the stress these families have to live with. They have to live with the burden of knowing they have crippling amounts of debt coming their way to pay for this treatment, and they don't even know if their loved one's going to survive. We got to fix that. Now, of this class, 4 out of 10 of you are likely to get cancer, so it's going to affect you probably, or someone you know dearly. So it's a real problem. And then also, we're all college kids. We go to college, we expect to get a good job, but the data shows that's just not guaranteed anymore. A lot of college kids can't find good jobs out of college. So it's not very guaranteed that we're going to get one of those nice jobs where we can be one of those $100,000 or plus families. We might be in the lower category. We're going to have kids who are going to want to play sports. You don't want to tell your kid, hey, no, you can't join a team because we can't afford it. And then they're not given the opportunity to go get a scholarship and play in college. They can't make new friends. They can't make these experiences that their friends are making because you can't afford it. We need to help that. This is where the Global Sports Foundation kicks in. They were created to relieve the medical bills of people with mostly cancer, but other major diseases like ALS, muscular dystrophy, etc. And they're also made to give kids the opportunity to play sports that wouldn't usually, for poor areas, poor families, etc. And it was created by this man named David Fanton. He lost multiple friends to cancer and other diseases, and played baseball and coached his whole life. He traveled the world, so he saw these poor areas where kids had nothing and they would just die to have just a baseball bat, have a used glove. They would kill for that stuff. So he saw that and he decided to make a difference. He accepts donations of equipment and then gives those equipment either to individuals that he knows of specifically, or gives them to other groups that are associated with the poor kids, like little boys and girls organizations. He gives it to them, they distribute the equipment to those who need it. On the money side, for the cancer bills, for other families to relieve them, he runs events throughout the year, usually like charity baseball games. He'll have dinners we have to pay, and they have a raffle and everything, and all that money goes to the families to help relieve medical bills. And then a specific example of this in action was they had a charity baseball game. He raised $25,000 for one kid named Billy Vincent who had brain cancer, and that went to his family, all of it, $25,000, huge help, relieved them with their medical bills. And it wasn't all of it, unfortunately, but it really took a lot of the stress off. They could focus just more on Billy and him getting better, and not having to worry every day about their future and how they're going to pay for this. Now, I want to help you envision a world where if you do not donate to this charity, if you do not donate any money, we'll live in a world where, say, battling cancer is hard enough, but if you beat cancer, you're one of the lucky ones, you're one of the strong ones, you're going to come back to a life with crippling debt, stress every day. It's going to put those people into a depression. They've already had a hard enough time with what they've gone through. No one should have to go through that. They don't need to come back to an old life where they lost their job, they have no future, the rest of their life is just depressing. Like, they might have survived, but they still lose their life. They don't need that. And also, if you do not donate, there will be kids who won't be able to play baseball. They won't be able to play football. They won't be able to play soccer or basketball. And for a lot of people in like more poor communities, that's their only way out. They play these sports, they get their college scholarship, they get to change. They're the first people in their families to go to college. They get to change the trajectory of their life and their family's life as they know it. But if you don't donate, there's going to be another kid who can't do what they want until they have downtime. They commit crimes because they have nothing else better to do. They can't go to college, so they get a crappy job that they don't like. They're miserable the rest of their life. They're stressed out because they can't pay their bills. They can't afford to put their kids in the sports. They go through the same thing with their kids, and it's just a never-ending cycle that keeps affecting these families because no one helps them change. That's why I'm asking you to donate to them. I've told you guys about the severity of the problems of the diseases in this country and the poverty affecting people and their ability to pay for their kids' sports. I've talked to you about how the Global Sports Foundation has effective ways of relieving these problems in this country. And I've talked to you about what the world would be like if you guys don't help this charity. That's why I'm asking you to donate money, or if you can't money, I'm sure most of us have like a baseball glove laying around that we don't need, a bat that we don't use anymore, that to us seems like nothing, just laying around in our garage. But to another kid, that would make their whole year getting that. They would use that in a way that would make them so happy and change their life as we know it. So I'm asking you to donate that. And there's 2 million people that need help. And I know that's a lot, but it all starts with you guys. Your change can make a difference.